Okay, hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the second presentation about the robotics, and this time we're going to be focusing more on the programming side of things. We will be using a software called CHOREGRAPHE to do all of our programming, and we will be doing it on a robot called Now. This is the one I have the most experience with, so that's the one I will be demonstrating with. Don't forget that if you attend all of the live sessions, and do the form, you'll be able to receive a certificate. So I feel like it's worth your time. So please do that. Okay. Without further ado, let's get into it. If there's no questions, we can get right into it. I'll start by showing off the download and which one you need. Okay. No questions? Perfect. Okay, let's get into it. So there should be a download link in the comments. This one here, it's called SoftBank Robotics. Once you go to it, you can go to here. It's called Choregraph. This is the software that we will be needing to program the robot. And when you click here, you'll be seeing all of these, download options. You should click the setup for whichever operating system you're using. I'm using Windows, so this is the one I'll be using here. Choregraph 2.8.6 setup. If you're using a Mac or a Linux distribution like Ubuntu, for example, you can download these ones as well. Okay. Once you click download, you will be able to go through the installation by clicking next. And once you go through all of it, it will make like a sort of like an icon on the desktop. You can double click that and you'll be right in. So once you click it, you will hopefully be able to see a tab like this one here. This is Choregraph. This is the integrated development environment that we will be using. At the start, here on the right side, you'll see that there really isn't a robot. This is because we have to set it up first. So what you should do is click on Edit, top left here. Then you click on Preferences. Once you click here, you will see a bunch of different options. We only care about the virtual robot. You see, unfortunately, I don't have access to a robot in real life, so I'll be using a virtual robot for these demonstrations. It is good as the real robot, so we won't really be missing out on too many features. Anyways, we click on Virtual Robot, and then we will go on the robot model here. At the start, it will be something like Pepper, I think, but we care about Now. So you should switch it to Now. H25 V50 is the one we care about. Then you click OK. It will show you a sort of like a warning. Then you just click OK, and there you go. You should be done. Now what you need to do is go on to Connection. And then you click on Connect to Virtual Robot. Now you see we have a robot. It's a virtual robot of Now. You'll see it's fidgeting around. So to stop that, we will click on this button, this heart, called Turn Autonomous Life Off. So we click it, and then the robot is gonna stop doing all of these movements. Anyways, to use this interface, all right, for the robot, if you hold left click and then you move around, you'll see you start moving like this, right? Like diagonal and longitudinally. If you want to move in a 360 around the robot, you have to instead hold right click. When you hold right click, you can move around the robot like this. So if you want to see different angles, you want to see how it's moving, this is how you do it. Okay, and okay, I guess we can start the demonstration. If everyone is up to speed, please let me know if you didn't get this far or if you're having any problems, and I can try and explain again. If you did not see this window here on the right side, you can go and click on View, and then go down to Robot View. This is the view that we will be needing so we can see the robot. If there are no concerns or no questions, I can move on with the demonstration. Okay, perfect. So Now we can go into the first thing that's, every programmer does. The first thing that they do is a little like function called hello world. All right, this is what lots of programmers do as their first program. So let's do the same thing here. Now he has the ability to speak, right? But since we're using a virtual robot, we can't really hear him speak. But instead, we will see sort of like prompts above his head here when he says something. So to make him say something, we can go down here into the library section, and we can click on this button here, the show filter option, and then we can search for a word called say. Say will give us the necessary functions that we will need to make a robot now say something. So I will drag this one here. We drag it onto the workspace. So this is an example of a function that we will be using. As you can see here, this small button here, this is on start. This is the input that we will be using to make this function start. And this here on the right side. This is what's going to be used when the function is done running. It will make an output. You see, this one is going to be extremely important when we want to string multiple functions one after the other to make a more complex program. So to make it work, we have these here on the left and on the right. This is the global start. This is the output that will be sent when you click on the start button here. This is going to upload the program to the robot and make him start it. This is the first output, and then you can drag it to the input of the function. This is how you connect it. So now we have the say function that's connected to the start, and we want to connect the end to the end of the program. So now we have a say function that is working, technically speaking. What if you want to modify what the robot is going to say, right? We want to make him say hello world. So we click on this thing here, click on it, and then you'll be given this option window. You can see you can change the voice shaping and the speed. If you want to make him sound differently, make him sound more deep or make him talk slower. For example, some people understand things differently. Some people understand slower than others. So you can slow it down if, for example, the person needs it. Here we have a text option. This is the text that the robot will say. So we want to make him say hello world. So you just type it in. Done. So this is hello world, and then you click on OK when you're done. Once you're done with the program and you think you're ready to make it work, you can click on the run button or F5 as well on the keyboard. They both work. See, hello world. This is how you use the say function. Now let's move on to something else. And again, if there's any questions, please let me know. But it should be simple so far. Now let's move on to the stand function. Let's say I want to make the robot move, not just say something. So you go here, and then you search for stand. And once you search for stand, they're going to be given one of this option here, which is called stand up. So you can do the same thing and connect it to the start. Of course, I want to remove this thing. So what you do is you highlight it using left click like this, and then you click on delete. So that's how you delete something from like a connection, for example. You can also click on the object itself. You can also click delete, and it will also be deleted. As you can see, the robot is currently sitting down, and I want to make it stand up. So I'll be using this function here. I'll connect it to the start, and here on success, I will, I'll connect it to the end. Again, you can click on the run button, and the robot should stand up. Perfect. See, you can see the robot stood up. Now let's move on to sitting. Let's say I want to make it sit again, right? We have two ways to do that. You can click up here on the rest button, this one. If you want to do it manually yourself, you want to make him sit down, you can click it, and then the robot is going to start sitting down. But what if you want to make him sit down, using the library, right? You want to make it as a part of your program. So you search for REST. When you search for REST, you can see this thing here. This is going to allow you to REST your robot. So again, like I said earlier, you highlight it if you want to remove a connection, and you click on delete. Same thing here. Let's move this to the side for now. And then I connect them using left click. Then I can click on the run program again. And you can see he's sitting down again. All right, now let's move on to something even more complex. Now I want to make him move towards something. So what I should do is I should, search for move toward. Okay, and this function is going to allow us to make the robot move. He's going to constantly be moving forwards, all right? But, we want to make him stop at some point. So we will be using this function here called delay. Delay can allow us to delay a signal so that we can make it take as long as we need it to take. Okay, let's get into it. So first, I want to make the robot stand up. There you go. Now the robot's going to stand up at the start of the program. And then we connect it to this one here, which is the success. So you can see, you can connect it to another function. You don't have to just connect it to the end immediately. You can connect it to another function. So now the robot is going to start moving forwards. But of course, you have to keep in mind, these things are very complex and they're very flexible. So you could, if you want, you can connect two things to the same output. Yeah, one output can connect it to different inputs. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to be setting up a delay. And if you want to set up a delay, you click on this thing here, and you can set the time that you want to delay. So let me just copy it first because I'll need another version of it later. And I'll be setting it for, I want to make the robot stand up and walk for 5 seconds. So I click on OK. As you can see here, it's 5 seconds. And then, what do you call it? Now we can connect it to another delay of 1 second because we want to give the robot some time to stop. And then once that's done, we can connect it to rest. So we can connect rest to the end as well. So what does this program do so far? The program is going to send a signal to stand up. So if the robot is sitting, for example, it reaches the default position of standing up. Then it will send two signals to move forward and to the delay. I will show right now in a little bit why we need this delay. Because the robot is going to keep moving forward, right? Once it receives the signal, it's going to keep moving forward. It's not going to stop until you click on this button here, which is for stopping. So I want to make him stop after 5 seconds of moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this output here. So once the timer is done, it will send an output to the stop. So we're going to stand up. We're going to start moving. And we're also going to send a signal to the delay. After 5 seconds, it's going to send a signal back to the stop button so that the robot is going to stop moving. And, we have an extra delay here so it can make sure he stops moving and completely sets up and is ready to rest. Okay, let's demonstrate this program. Let's see. Hopefully it works. It did stop, but it didn't really rest fully, so maybe you need a little bit extra time. Let's try again. Anyways, yes, it should rest. I'm not exactly sure why it's not working properly. Let's see. There you go. You can do it this way as well. Perfect. Let me check for something quickly. Okay, perfect. So as you can see here, once the program stops moving, it's going to send an output here, all right? And we can send it to a rest signal. And this rest signal is going to make the robots back down. And then this is going to go to the end. So this is the program to make the robot stand up, move a little bit, and then stop. Of course, if you want to make him move for longer, you can change this to 10 seconds, 20 seconds, or as long as you like, really. And eventually, it's going to stop moving, and it's going to rest. Now let's move on to another function. We're going to be using a multiply. We're going to be learning how to multiply. So what I'm going to make the robot do is the following, right? He's going to get two random numbers, multiply them together, and say the output. So we're going to have a random integer. We'll be needing one of these. Once you click on this thing here, you can change the minimum value and the maximum value. Yeah, I'll be leaving it as the default here because I think that works just fine. And we'll be needing two of these, all right? Because we need two separate random integers. Then we will be using a say function because we want the robot to say what is the random number that he's receiving. So he's going to say it, right? First of all, we will need to connect this to the start. He's going to get a random integer, and then he's going to say this random number, and then we want him to say something else. So we're going to be using another say box. There's a difference between say text and say. Say is customizable because it allows you to write what you want to say. So for example, here I want to write say text multiplied by, and then it's going to be another number, another random number. So that's how it's going to work. While say text, you cannot customize it. You cannot customize the text, right? This one here is going to receive text from the random integer, right? The output is a random value, and this value can be set by the robot as it is. So that's the difference between say text and say. Say, it does not receive values from other functions. It just says what it has in here. While say text, it says the number or text or anything of that kind that it receives. Anyways, once it's done saying that, we're going to get another integer, right? After we get the other integer, we're going to make it say that integer, and we're going to make it say equals. So the sequence so far is going to be number, say that number, multiplied by number, say that number, equals. And then it's going to say something, right? So let's first get the multiply. So we search for math, as you can see here. We have all of these options. We have divide and multiply, and random float, random integer, and that sort of thing. I'll be using multiply in this case. So as you can see, the multiply, it has two different inputs. You can see here, and we're going to connect the inputs to the outputs of the integers. So now we have two integers that are going into this thing. And then we want the output to also be said. So we get a say text box. So the full thing is going to be the following: number, say that number, multiplied by number, say that number, equals answer. Let's run the program and let's see if it works. Okay, as you can see here, we'll need a little bit of a delay, all right, because it's not working properly. So The beautiful thing about these programs is you can go in, you can double click them, and as you can see, there's a bunch of code inside. This is written in Python, right? And if you have any Python knowledge, you can go in and change these yourself. So what I'll be doing is I'll be adding a new library called time. So this time is going to help us with delaying the, what do you call it? The multiply output so that it can say something properly. Let's see. So we go into this process here. This process is going to be the output, and I can add a delay right here. I'm going to be calling it time.sleep2. What does time.sleep2 does? This one, it makes the program wait a little bit before making the output. So it can wait for all of these things to function before this one gets the output, all right? Because as you can see here, as soon as the random integers are done, it sends something to the multiply and it will immediately say something while the others are trying to speak. Let's try and see if this works any better. As you see here, 5 and 0 multiplied together gives you 0.0. Let's try it again. 1, 8 multiplied together gives you 8.0. Let's try one more time. 4, 0 should give you 0. As you can see though, it's always 0.0, right? And it's not very ideal for our robot because whenever he speaks, he's going to say 0.0 or 1.0 or something like that. And we don't really want it that way. So we go back into the multiply. As you can see here, this is, as you can see, there's this variable called res. And you're multiplying the multiplicand, which comes from here, multiplied by the multiplier, which comes from here. See, multiplicand and multiplier. So this one here, it gets on the output, it's outputted through here. So what we want to do is we want to round it. So we're going to make a round function. This is also built into Python, and it rounds floats into integers. See, we did that right there. And then we click X, and let's try running that again. 5 multiplied by 5 is 25. I'm not exactly sure why it's not rounding, because it should be rounding now. Let me see. I'm not exactly sure. I did this like earlier before I went live, and it worked just fine. Anyways, let's move on. Now let's move on to tactile head. As you can see right here. Let's search for it, tactile head. Tactile head, basically here, on the robot itself, let me open this slide here. On the top of the robot, there's these capacitive buttons, right? And if you click them, it will do certain functions, right? Here, front touched, middle touched, and rear touched. So if you touch the front bumper of the robot, it will do something. And if you touch the middle part, it will do something. And if you touch the rear side, it will also do something. I will combine this with another exercise. And this is like for yesterday's session, though. What do you mean? Okay, never mind. Let's move on. I'll be combining it with another function, and it's going to be called play sound. here, the robot, it has the speakers built in onto the side of the head. And what do you call it? It can play sounds. So if we want to play something, we can connect it to here on the play sound button. You click here, and then you'll be having access to the file name. So we're going to import a music file, for example, and then we're going to go here. We're going to be receiving this window. We click this plus button and import files. So I'm going to go into this one here. I'm going to be playing this sound here. Once I click it, it's going to open up in the directory, and then I click OK. So now it should work. I'm not sure if StreamYard is going to share the audio, but let's find out. Anyways, I'm going to connect this thing here. What benefit can delay bring in robot performance? Delay isn't really about robot performance. Delay is if you want to make a delay in your program. For example, let's say I want to make the robot stand up, right? And then once he stands up, I want him to wait 10 seconds before he starts moving again. So that's what the delay is for. That's basically what you use the delay for. You can just make it delay signals or certain things so it can flow more smoothly. Okay, back to the demonstration. So once you click play, it should start running. Now, as you can see here, it stops at the tactile head. Once you click on the robot's head on the top here, there's like three things like I showed in this slides. If you click the front one, I'll be activating it using this button here to simulate it in the virtual robot. You can't really click on the robot's head here, but in real life, that's how it would work. When you double click, you see it starts playing the music. Can you guys hear it? I'm not sure if it's going through StreamYard, but it should work. Is it not working? Let me see. I was told that StreamYard should be able to play sounds as well. I'm not sure why it's not working. But on my end, when I double clicked on it, I started hearing the music. I'm not sure. I'm just going to move on for now. Let's share again quickly. Let's see. Can you guys hear it now? Well, I'm not sure. I guess this is a limitation in StreamYard, which is our streaming program. So I guess I'm going to have to move on. But on my end, when I clicked this button, it started playing the sound. Keep in mind, if you want to make the sound work on the robot, all right? What do you call it? You have to make sure that it is a .wav file. You cannot use MP3, unfortunately. So you're going to have to use a conversion program online. And once you do that, you're going to be able to convert it to WAV. And you can import it, and it should work. So let's say, for example, I want to be able to stop the music, right, whenever I feel like it. So we can use another button on the top of the robot's head and connect it to the stop function of the play sound. So when we run it, you don't really have to connect it to the output pin. It just helps if you want to. Like, for example, if you want to make your program more clean. For the demonstration of this one here, You don't really need to do it. You don't have to, but you could. I'm just doing it for demonstration, and I could just stop the program using this button here called stop. But if you want a more clean demonstration in front of people, if you want to ship the program, you will, of course, connect the output pin to the end. That's what you could do. But you don't have to. Okay. Now, if I want to start the program, I double-click here, which is, let's say, at the front of the robot's head. And then it starts playing the music, all right? Once you want to stop the music, you click on the middle one. And now the music stopped. So this is how you can organize music in your programs. Let's see, do I have any time left? I have a little bit of time left, so I will be showing one more thing, which is the switch case. And let me see, switch case. Switch case is incredibly handy for something like voice or speech recognition. See here, we have this thing called speech recognition. So, for example, if you want to talk to the robot, all right, for example, right, you want him to recognize certain keywords, and this is how you'll do it. You first connect the speech recognition module, then you go in the parameters, and you have a thing called a word list. So, in this case, built-in is yes to no. You could change it to anything you want, right? Let's say I want 1, and each parameter that you want to listen, to listen for, you click on the semicolon, right? This is how you separate all of the things that you expect the robot to listen to. So I'm going to write 1, and I'm going to write 2, and 3. So now we have these 3 words that we expect the robot to listen to, all right? And then you click on OK. Then you connect this one here. Once a word is recognized, you connect it to a switch case. And once you connect it to switch case, you can do it. You can use it here, right? So we have to rewrite these words again, but then this time we have to surround them in these speech marks. So I'm going to write 1. Each one is on their own line, though. Here, you put them all on the same line, and you surround them with semicolons. But this one here, you have to use speech marks, and each one is on its own line. So it's 1, this is 2, and we have an option for 3. Okay, so now each one of these boxes here, they have their own output, as you can see. And we can make it say different things or do different things depending on what we tell him, right? So I'm going to use say text for now. So I'm just going to make him say number 1. And when he sees number 2, I'm going to make him stand up. And if I want to, if I want him to see, do number 3, if he sees number 3, I just want him to write this random integer program. As you can see, right? Yeah, you can connect everything to anything, right? The output of something can connect to the input of other things. And using this, you can make a really complex program if you need to. Unfortunately, the virtual robot, it does not really have speech recognition. So I'll be using this button here. And using this button, I'm going to feed the inputs in myself. So I'm going to run the program. Actually, wait, I remembered you need to do something before you do that. Once you're done with the program, you have to loop back to speech recognition. All right, so you do that. Once you're done, you loop all the way back to the speech recognition module. And of course, once you receive an input, you have to stop the speech recognition because the robot, right? It's quite finicky. It does some weird things if it's trying to do stuff while you tell it to listen with the speech module. So as soon as you receive an input, you have to disable the speech recognition. As you can see, like this. And once you're done with the output, you connect the string all the way back to the start. So you're constantly starting and closing the speech recognition. Okay, now the speech recognition is working. Let's say the robot here heard the word 1. See, it goes from here. Let's say he heard the word 2. See, he stands up, right? This is how you can use this. You can switch between the cases, and you can make it to different things depending on what he hears. Let's say he heard the word 3. Now you should go through the program. 9, 2, 10 together, you get 18. You see? This is how you combine things together, and you use these flow, these inputs, these outputs, and then you use these strings. You can make the program flow really nicely. Okay, let me see if I have anything left for demonstration. I'm not sure if you guys can hear. Some people say they hear, some people say they cannot hear the program. So I'm not sure if I can show these videos and making it work. All right. So I'll move on to one more topic. I'm going to be talking about the LEDs. Right. There is this here called the LEDs, and there's a bunch of different types of them. All right. Now he has access to a lot of different things, right? So basically looping on step 1 to step 2, an extra step needs to start, work, and stop, right? What do you mean by this question? Can you elaborate further? I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say here. Until you apply, I'll be moving on a little bit. Okay, so the robot, right? Let me show an image real quick. As you can see here, he has LEDs all over him, right? There's some in his eyes, there's some on his head, and as you can see here, there's more on here. There's a bunch of LEDs, and you can control all of these, right? So using these LED buttons, of course, I cannot show this on the robot because it doesn't have LEDs on the virtual one, but in real life, this would work just fine. You can go on these LEDs and you can click here, and you can see, like the type of LEDs and how they change, right? And yeah, basically, you can select all of the different types of LEDs because there's so many, right? There's on the face, on the foot, there's on the brain, there's everything, and you can change these depending on how you want. And there's what do you call them? Toggles for intensity and duration. Okay, guess that should be it for the time being. Did you respond? Let me check if you responded. Comments. Did you elaborate? Okay, if you would like to elaborate, so I can answer your question. If there isn't anything, I guess I'm gonna have to call it a day for the time being because you haven't responded and there are no questions. Hopefully, you've learned something new about the robot and programming it using the Choregraph program. Again, keep in mind if you watch all of the presentations and do the form, you can receive a certificate. And hopefully, I guess in the near future, I'm going to be teaching about Python and object-oriented programming and that sort of thing. So if you want to be ready in advance, you could download an IDE like VS Code, for example. You looped a few steps to stop. Why is that? You looped a few steps. Where did I loop? I didn't use a loop anywhere. You mean these ones? If you're talking about these ones here, right? The speech recognition on the robot, as you can see here, what do you call it? Once it recognizes something, it becomes like quite difficult to control if it keeps on working constantly. So once you receive an output from the speech recognition module, you're going to have to disable it using one of these outputs here. And then once you run the program that you're wanting to run, like this one here, you have to re-enable it. So you're going to have to keep going in this loop of disabling it and re-enabling it to make sure that the robot is stable. I'm not sure why it does this, but this is the like counter I found to make it work stably. If you use this on a real robot, for example, all right, when the program is listening for stuff, it's constantly moving around and fidgeting, and that's something you cannot disable, unfortunately. And this can mess with the standing up feature and all these other features. That's why I loop. That's why I stop and start the speech recognition whenever I want to do something else. Hopefully that answered your question. Yes. I guess that should be it for now. Thank you so much for coming. Like I said earlier, I'll be doing other presentations in the near future. Please attend them, and you can fill out the form and that sort of thing. Okay. Thank you so much, and have a good day.